Hey everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with the second part of my October movie marathon reviews. So this is what I watched from October 5th to October 10th. The first movie I'd like to talk about is Scream, the original. This came out in 1996, and this is, I think, the first time that I've ever seen this movie. Which is really weird, but when I was in middle school, the scary movies started coming out, and like the first one is basically like the plot of Scream. So like I knew the plot, and I didn't really ever have a lot of desire to watch the original because I kind of knew what happened a little bit, but I decided to watch it. This is like a great 90s teen slasher movie. This is about a girl named Sydney. She's a teenager, obviously, like I said, and these murders start happening to the people in her life, like some of her schoolmates, her friends. Her mother was previously murdered, and then she starts getting targeted by the killer, who is wearing this ghost face mask. And yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to the plot. Obviously, there are some red herrings and some twists. I thought the ending was so good. I didn't know that Matthew Lillard was in this, which, so like that was a little bit of a treat for me. I really like him in this movie, and that's Scream. Next, I watched Bones, which was released in 2001, and this was like a fun, campy one a little bit. This was starring Snoop Dogg, and he was... Okay, so let me start off differently here. So this takes place in like the 90s, basically, and these kids buy this like ramshackle, run-down house. They don't live in the area that this house is in, so they don't realize that it's like a house that nobody goes to because everyone thinks that it's haunted. Spooky things happen in it. They buy it and they want to kind of fix it up so that they can turn it into a club. The house was previously owned by the character that Snoop Dogg plays. His name is Jimmy Bones, and he was kind of like an altruistic gangster who, you know, dealt in illegal activities, but did it to kind of help the neighborhood that he lived in. And he was murdered by his friends, and so that's who was supposedly haunting this house. And I mean, that's really the plot of Bones, and I thought it was fun. This is the first time I've watched it, and it was just interesting to see Snoop Dogg in an acting role, like a more serious acting role. I don't really know how I felt about the end. It kind of got a little bit goofy almost, but I mean, I liked it. I watched it. I might watch it again in a couple years. Not one of my favorites, but I thought it was pretty good. And then I watched Get Out, which came out in 2017. This was a rewatch for me, but I hadn't seen it since it came out. I've only seen it once, and this is just such a great movie. Man, it's a good one. This is about a guy named Chris, and he is a black man, and he has a girlfriend who's white, and they're going to meet her parents for the first time. I mean, he's going to meet her parents for the first time, and they live kind of in kind of a more secluded area, and he's already a little bit nervous because she hasn't told her parents that he's black, and he's worried that that might be a problem. She assures him, no, it's gonna be fine. But things aren't super fun. And this is just, there are so many like interesting dynamics to this movie. It does kind of have a little bit of comedy in it, and sometimes that doesn't work, I don't think, in movies, because it gets like too goofy to take seriously. But it was like the serious parts were so fucking serious and tense and just made you so worried about Chris as a character. So like the little bit of comedy that was in there, it just kind of, I don't know, it's like it lightens the mood so that later you can be more anxious and scared. So I thought that was so well done. And yeah, a great movie. Probably one of my favorite horror movies. I think it's cemented now that I've rewatched it. And there's some movies that I don't like to rewatch, you know, because it's like, I know this story, that's it. But rewatching this one, there's just so many things that you pick up on, at least I did, that I didn't, you know, notice the first time I watched it. So I really enjoyed this rewatch. The next movie was also a rewatch for me. This was Crimson Peak, which came out in 2015, so this one's a couple years old by now, which is so weird because I feel like it just came out last year. This is another one, like I said, that I'm rewatching, but another one also that I watched originally like soon after it came out. And the first time I watched it, I thought it was alright, but I thought it was alright, but I wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't something that I even thought about for a long time afterwards. And I have to say that rewatching it really changed my mind about how I felt about it. So this is about a young woman named Edith, and she's in America. She comes from kind of a well-to-do family. Her father is a successful businessman, and she meets a man who had traveled to the United States from England, and he's kind of looking for investors for this invention he's trying to make. They fall in love. The father doesn't want this to happen, but it happens, and she ends up moving to this really remote, run down, like, there are parts of this mansion that don't have ceiling any longer, and like the rain and the snow just falls in. But she's living there with the man, what's his name? Hold on. Thomas, and his sister Lucille. And there's just some weird stuff going on, and throughout the whole movie you're like, something about this is not right, but you're not really sure exactly what is not right. And it's just very spooky and so atmospheric, and I think it's one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. It's just so visually appealing with this like decadence in this mansion that's just not been taken care of. It's like rotting and falling apart and sun bleached and moldy and falling apart, you know, but it's still like so beautiful and ornate, and it's a great movie. And I think this also might be one of my more favorite horror movies now upon rewatching it. And I don't really know, I think I know this is weird that I remember this, but I think I was like baking cookies the first time I watched it, so it's kind of like in and out of the living room. So maybe that's why, like, I just didn't catch some of the nuances because I was in and out watching the movie, but I really ended up liking it, and I'm so glad that I decided to rewatch it. And last but not least, I watched Good Boy, which is part of the In the Dark Hulu horror movie series. This came out this year in 2020. This is about a woman named Maggie who is having kind of a tough time. It's like at the beginning of the movie, all these, you know, things just kind of land on her. Like, she works for a newspaper, and the newspaper is going digital, so it's like she basically loses her job. She's, you know, she becomes basically like an independent journalist instead of working for this paper. Her rent goes up, just like all these things. She is worried about her biological clock because she is a woman who's unmarried in her late 30s and wants to eventually have a family, but is worried that her body's moving too fast, much more fast than she wants it to. So she is very anxious. Someone recommends that she gets a emotional support dog, and she does, and he's so cute. His name is Ruben, and he's a perfect sweet little angel until something makes Maggie anxious, and he kind of takes care of the problem no matter what or who it is. And so this was like kind of funny and kind of cute. I don't know, there just wasn't I liked it. I enjoyed it when I watched it. I probably won't rewatch it ever though. Now that I know what happens, I feel like there was some unexplained things in the plot, particularly when it came to Ruben. I don't really know if I liked the ending a whole lot, but like it was fun to watch. And the dog Ruben is just so dang adorable. So this is the third Into the Dark, right? Into the Dark? Or is it in the dark? I don't know. Something about being in the dark. That's the third one of that. The third one of those that I've watched. And I watched the first one, The Body, and I didn't like that. And then I watched another one. I can't remember what it was called, but that one was maybe like a year into the whole thing. Because they've been doing this for like 2 or 3 years now. So, I don't know what my point was, but so far, basically all 3 that I've watched have just been okay. So I kind of am wondering, I guess, like if any of you out there have watched a good amount of them, like, am I just picking the wrong ones? Or am I too persnickety? Or are there some good ones, I guess? I don't know. I feel like I need to sit down and watch all of them. I don't know. What I have coming for the next couple days, I probably won't get this edited until the 12th. Today's the 11th, so tonight I am watching 28 Days Later. On the 12th, I'm watching 28 Weeks Later. The 13th, I'm watching Friday the 13th, the original. On the 14th, the 14th, I plan on watching Tales from the Hood. And on the 15th, I plan on watching La Llorona. But not the one that's like in the Conjuring universe, you know, like not the one that came out a couple years ago. This is one that I saw on Shudder. So I really, like, I just came across that a couple weeks ago and I was like, I don't want to watch that yet because I kind of did like a horror movie fast before I started doing this so I wouldn't burn myself out in October. So I don't really know what the plot is. I don't know if I've heard anybody or seen anybody review it anywhere. So I'm kind of going in blind and I'm excited about it. That's all. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.